When this happened, it was easy to wallow in self-pity and misery, lamenting how we used to be able to eat hot dogs for $1.50 in the Costco cafeteria. When we stop and remember our food choices are keeping our family healthy and able to live a relatively normal life, not eating hot dogs is suddenly a very low price to pay. Do you miss having time for Jesus and yourself, but you're drowning in the responsibilities of motherhood? If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Cheryl, wife, girl mom, and Jesus follower. I learned the not-so-secret ways to become the mom my girls needed by prioritizing Jesus back into my mom life and reclaiming my identity in Christ. If you're ready to build faith while washing dishes, rediscover your identity, and love yourself like your babies do, grab your earbuds and lock that bathroom door for a minute alone. It's time for Mom. Hi, beautiful. Welcome to the Time for Mom podcast. I'm your host, Cheryl. Today's devotion was originally called, Where is the Forest? Battling Overwhelm and Sudden Life Changes. It was published February 24th, 2025. Before we dive in, though, I wanted to just let you know that if you have loved the Time for Mom podcast and the Mom Life devotions, I would ask if you would consider supporting the publication. Whether you choose to support it or not, you will still get a new devotional every week delivered to your email if you choose to subscribe, and 2 podcast episodes. If you do choose to support the publication, you will get access to a live monthly Q&A session. Becoming a mom never seems to go quite how you think it should, but you don't have to navigate all of those changes alone. I would encourage you to follow the link in the show notes and consider joining. And now on to today's episode. Have you ever heard the idiom, you can't see the forest for the trees? The meaning, in case you haven't heard it or figured it out, is that you can get so focused on the details that you fail to see the bigger picture or overall context. It means you're preoccupied with the trees and don't realize the fact that they form the forest you've been searching for. I've heard people use, if it was a snake, it would have bitten me, in the same way. In this life, it is so easy to get completely overwhelmed during major life changes that we forget the bigger picture. When I was preparing to marry my husband, it was easy to just pack up all the things I'd been saving while I was hoping for a husband and take it to Montana. I had been looking forward to having a home of my own long before I met my husband. During the same time, preparing the paperwork for my name change seemed like a part of me was dying. My parents and future husband watched me weep while I filled out the paperwork and tried to find ways to avoid changing my name. Spoiler, I did not keep my maiden name. Changing my name wasn't something I had really considered, and as a result, I completely lost sight of the bigger picture as I was pounding my forehead into that metaphorical name change tree. Years later, do I regret changing my name? No, not even a little bit. Was my anticipation of getting married, moving out, and being on my own unwarranted? Nope, I am still so happy that I did that. Fast forward several years, and we were going to have a baby, and it was so awesome. We spent 10 months preparing for our child because my body believed that birth should only occur when induction was being threatened. Becoming a family of 3 was an easy choice, challenging at times due to sleep deprivation and a global pandemic, sure, but generally easy for us. Fast forward a few more years and we were going to have a second baby. This was still an amazing miracle, but it was much harder for me to let go of our family of 3 as we became a family of 4. I couldn't solely focus on our oldest daughter who was ecstatic she was getting a little sister. Remembering that our precious second baby was a gift was harder because more was required of me than I had gotten used to. It took a few months for me to get past the postpartum depression and get used to the demands of having 2 kids. Kudos to all you mamas who have more than 2 kids. At times, I was so focused on the sleepless nights and divided attention that I completely missed the joy our second daughter brought with her into the world. My oldest treasures her little sister most of the time. Sharing toys is such a burden. When my husband Eric got sick for the first time, we had to make a pretty radical diet change. We were used to being able to eat almost anything, good or bad. So to cut out everything with gluten, including cross-contamination risks, and most beef-based food, including meat, broth, and even gelatin, was hard. A few years later, we cut all dairy and soy to keep our daughter safe. I even learned to cook without eggs while we were trying to figure out what was bothering her little body. Add a few more years and Eric got sick again, ending up in a wheelchair this time. My don't buy, cook, or eat list got a whole lot longer. Time and energy are precious commodities for every mom, so I buy and cook things that are safe for everyone to eat. This means I cook and bake without using dairy, gluten, anything beef-based, soy, processed sugar, corn, sulfates, nitrates, nightshades, and suspected nightshades, and I'm probably forgetting a thing or two. The special diet world is one that I never thought I'd have to live in. Sure, I was raised in a family with food allergies, but this is different. This is trying to keep my family's body functioning at nearly full capacity on a daily basis, not selective avoidance of a few very specific food items. We went from being able to buy and eat whatever food we craved and being able to go out any restaurant to having 1 or 2 restaurants we can safely eat in a 200-mile radius. We are now that family, insert air quotes, the family that brings all their own food and can't eat what anyone else brings because unbeknownst to them, it would hurt us. I've been asked, what do you eat? Because when the focus is on the list of things we can't eat, it's hard to see what we can. When the focus is on the problem, it is absolutely impossible to see a solution. When you focus on what was, it's easy to miss what can be and will be. In the long run, this sacrifice is keeping my family away from hospitals and high pain levels and is not the monumental deal it was when we first started. There is so much good food out there that God created, but we tend to focus on the things that we can't eat, like processed foods. We can still eat many vegetables, fruits, meat, beans, and gluten-free grains, but when you're beginning a major dietary change and you're so munchy you feel like eating the wallpaper, it's hard to remember the good. When this happened, it was easy to wallow in self-pity and misery, lamenting how we used to be able to eat hot dogs for $1.50 in the Costco cafeteria. When we stop and remember our food choices are keeping our family healthy and able to live a relatively normal life, not eating hot dogs is suddenly a very low price to pay. Once you get over that initial learning curve, yes, food takes more effort, but it's not hard. Making gluten-free cookies, biscuits, or meals doesn't have to be difficult because we have an amazing resource of bloggers, their cookbooks, and YouTube channels and podcasters. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to turn away, a time to search and a time to quit searching, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be quiet and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. When life throws you a curveball and you enter survival mode, it's difficult not to get completely overwhelmed. There never seems to be one little change. It's more like trying to drink from a fire hose of change instead of the drinking fountain. Getting married, super cool, one of the best things ever. But marriage is a constant dance of change and supporting each other through changing seasons and desperately trying to grow together instead of apart. Then you throw a baby into the mix and there is a massive dynamic shift starting while the little miracle is still in the womb. Maybe your parents are aging or ailing and you're scrambling to take care of them as life shifts and you find yourself caring for your parents how they once cared for you. Maybe your health has suddenly declined. You feel like you're clinging to life, sometimes 1 hour at a time. Some days you wonder if the effort to stay alive is even worth it. Maybe you or your family is struggling with an addiction. When you are in the middle of the forest, all you see are trees and it seems impossible to find your way back out. It's okay to grieve your circumstances and what has been lost. I've come close to crying over those hot dogs. Please, please, don't stay stuck. There are things we can learn about God in the middle of the forest that we cannot learn anywhere else. Our relationship with God can reach depths absolutely impossible to reach without struggle in this life. But if all we focus on are the trees, we will get lost instead. We are coming out of the forest, and the air is a lot lighter on the other side. Keep fighting, keep slogging through the trees, and eventually you will come out the other side. God is with you every step of the way, even when it feels like you're alone. Until next week, mamas, May you step back and see the beauty of the forest, even when it feels like you're being choked out by the trees. Love, Cheryl. Hey, beautiful. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share this with a mom who's wading through those mounds of laundry and dishes and wishing for just a little me time? Also, please leave a quick review for the show on Apple Podcasts. It makes my day to know this podcast has helped you. Well, it's time for me to wash more dishes and cook more food. I'll meet you next Wednesday for another episode. Until then, may the God of grace fill you with his peace.